Happy Monday, Khristina Williams. Thank you for joining me on the WNBA on NBC. Girl, we got a game 5. The Indiana Fever, shout out to them. They forced a game 5 and stave off elimination against the Las Vegas Aces. You know, it's interesting coming into the postseason. You know, people as in me, I'm one of them, kept saying the Aces need to get to the 2 or 3 seed. They want to make sure they're on the other side of the bracket to avoid the Minnesota Lynx, and they'll have a much easier path to the WNBA finals. And here they are, while the Phoenix Mercury have already punched their ticket. The Aces, both their first round and this series, going the distance. So the Fever, they forced a game 5, and now we will have to wait for them to finish that game 5 to play it on Tuesday to know who will be headed to the WNBA finals to face off against the Phoenix Mercury. What did you make of game 5 yesterday, Khristina?
What I make of the game 5 is that the Aces, if they want to win, they're definitely playing with their food right now. And you can't do that against a team like the Indiana Fever, who's hungry, who's playing with a sense of urgency, who don't necessarily see themselves as an underdog. I think that when I look at that game from yesterday, the Fever's backcourt has been unstoppable in this series. And I want to point out that Odyssey Sims has definitely been the difference maker in this series. In that game yesterday, she was a plus 17, the best on the team with 18 points. And then talk about Aliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. They combined for about, I think it was 49 points yesterday. And so the Fever, they've really been able to control the pace on both sides of the floor. And also Aliyah Boston defense on Asia Wilson has definitely been a key factor in their success in this series. And so the Fever, they just won't get away. They're finding a way to survive and advance. And so game 5 will definitely be very interesting between these two teams. But I want to point out that the Fever, they beat the Aces in several categories. Points in the paint, 42-38. Second chance points, 12-0. And fast break points, 15-6. And so the Fever definitely was able to dictate this game from start to finish. Again, Kelsey Mitchell, if I had to pick who would be an MVP of the postseason so far, it would be her, because she's definitely been able to set the tone for this Indiana Fever team from start to finish in this series.
Yeah, we saw her gaudy numbers there on the screen. She showed up for the team, the way that a player who was in the MVP conversation and finished top 5 in MVP voting should. And I don't think we can say enough about Aliyah Boston yesterday. Probably her best game of the postseason, in a game that the Fever really, really needed to win. So, I think like the Fever are they're a really good team, and so we just got to give them their respect in terms of making it hard on the former champions, 2-time champions, right? Like they're not an easy matchup. And I don't think that the Aces were taking them as easy matchups, so that's not what I'm saying. But I feel like because of the Aces and their reputation, we have a tendency to treat them like it's the Aces. They need to like go in there and just handle the business. But this is not the same Aces. And while they did have a 16-game win streak to close the season, and they won 17 straight games before losing a game, counting one in the postseason, they're still not the same, Aces that we know. And so, they will have a game 5. Part of the reason they secured that 2 seed was so they could have home court advantage on their home court. And so, look, they're going to be favored to still win that game. And so, we'll have to see what they do. But until Tuesday, can't book any travel plans yet for the finals, Khristina.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And I want to just say that the Aces, they've been having like the same fourth quarter woes across this series against the Fever. And you have to start to look at Becky Hammond and ask, what are the adjustments that you're going to make, especially late in the game? If I personally had to evaluate some of the adjustments, I would suggest maybe taking Kirsten Bell out of the starting lineup and maybe going with your rookie in Aliyah Nye. She had some starts in the regular season. I would look to give Dana Evans more minutes over Jewel Lloyd, who makes more of an impact, I think, against this Indiana Fever on offense and defensively, because you need players who can be aggressive defensively, right? I talked about the categories that the Fever outplayed the Aces in: points in the paint, second chance points, in transition, and fast break points. And you need players who will be able to disrupt that. And then, of course, we talked about officiating in the series against the Mercury and the Lynx, and that's been a point of emphasis in this series as well, with the free throw attempts. Now,
Yeah, hold on. We'll get
34-11.
into that in one second. I just want to address
Oh, okay.
something you said, because this is the beautiful part, I think, of a playoff series, because the adjustments are game to game. Like, Becky Hammon actually addressed what you said last night, and she didn't think Dana was having the downhill impact that she was. So, I think she's going to play players based on how they're performing, right? And Alyssa Smith got into foul trouble last night, right? And so she had to, go somewhere else in the lineup. So I think Dana's been really impactful for them, and I think Becky would love to play her, but I think, for example, last night, she probably, wasn't seeing it. And then how many minutes? I'm sorry, I don't have the box score in front of me. I don't know if you can see it, but I don't know how many minutes Kirsten Bell played, but I don't feel like she's actually playing that many starter minutes. I think
She played, I think, around 23 minutes.
Okay. I think
Around.
Becky's trying to use her for spacing. I think one thing to remember about a player like Kirsten is that, role players play better at home. So, maybe Becky will give her a shot early. I think I can guarantee you, but I bet, based on the way that most coaches coach Khristina, based on everything you said about improving, everyone's going to have a short leash in a game 5. So if Kirsten isn't knocking down shots early, if Becky chooses to change her starting rotation, she probably won't see a long leash. Just knowing Becky and the way she is, I doubt Aliyah Nye is going to get a chance, because she's just one of those coaches. I don't see her going to a rookie. But yeah, I agree with you. She's going to have to make adjustments, because the Fever adjusted, and look at what happened yesterday. And one of their adjustments maybe came as a result, it wasn't them, but might have come as a result of the complaints, Khristina, like you mentioned, about fouls and not getting enough foul calls. And so the Aces had a lot to say about the foul discrepancy last night. Let's hear from the Aces, and then we can dig into the fouls.
I just wonder how you felt about the overall flow of the game.
Well, they shot 34 free throws, and we shot 11.
So while you're looking at that box score, I'm wondering what's really standing out to you there.
I was just looking at the fouls. Liz had 5, Jackie had 5, Chelsea had 5. And that's very interesting to me, because I'm not saying we don't foul. Yeah, we foul here and there, but that's very interesting.
Megan had 4.
What? Oh my God, that's interesting. That's what I was looking at. But we'll do better. We gotta play better defense.
By interesting, do you mean that shit?
Yeah, I can't say that because I got a brand to protect. But
Say it, I have no brand.
yeah, it's interesting. But we'll be better.
It looked like they really were intentional about going to Aliyah in the second half. What was, I guess, difficult about containing her? I know you guys kind of touched on a few things, maybe with the foul calls, but what made it successful for them to keep going to her tonight?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask Aliyah that question. I honestly, you just do your work. You got to do your work early and make it different. But Aliyah did say I have a special whistle. And she shot 13 today.
She said that to you?
Yeah. Yeah, she said it last game I had a special whistle, which is cool. So we just got to play their better defense, make her look a little difficult, and kind of go from there.
Khristina,
That's
now,
tea.
I did, I'm going to admit, I did clip what were some of the spicier parts of the post game. I just want to acknowledge that the Aces definitely owned that their defense was not where it needed to be last night or yesterday. So now that that's out of the way, they were not trying to make excuses. They own that their defense needs to be better. That being said, Khristina, what do you make of the foul discrepancy yesterday?
Love the way the Aces handled it in the post game. Asia was putting on the Aces, we got to be better defensively. And Becky kind of stood in for her players, I'll say it. So I like that, they kind of addressed the issue. Again, officiating has been the story of the postseason, right? And there's a 23 point difference, I guess, in free throw attempts. And Aliyah Boston saying playing out to Asia that she has a special whistle is very interesting. But I love the matchup in this series. Asia Wilson, Aliyah Boston. You're getting Gamecock on Gamecock Prime. Shout out to Don Staley for developing some of the best post players that we have in the league. But I think that, yeah, this is definitely a matchup that's feeding people for generations. The greatest player that we've seen in the world right now in Asia Wilson, and kind of the second coming in Aliyah Boston. I love this matchup. I love how much Aliyah is challenging Asia, right? In terms of just not letting it be easy for her, right? Making it a little bit difficult, but also leading the Fever when they're down their key star and Caitlin Clark and 4 other players as well. And so I think that she's been a great leader throughout this series, and we're getting some really, really great basketball in this series.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look at these numbers. It's astounding, right? I mean, 24 points for Aliyah yesterday, 14 rebounds. I left the assist here because both of them are really great bigs who can pass, right? And then 2 blocks for Aliyah, 2 steals. And then on the other side, you have Asia with 31 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, 4 steals, right? I mean, they are just filling up the box score. And then if that wasn't enough, they both shot efficiently. But look at the free throw discrepancy here, right? Asia Wilson, who normally averages many more free throws per game in the regular season, only shot 6 free throws yesterday. Aliyah Boston, who does not typically get 13 free throws in a game, got 10. Sometimes you just have a officiated game like that, but that is a pretty striking discrepancy in free throws, especially when you consider all of the Aces players that racked up fouls yesterday.
And these are the same officials who was officiating the Minnesota game when Fee got hurt.
Yes.
So now it's like, wait a minute. What is going on right now with these 3 officials? You had the game in Phoenix, in Minnesota, where, it was just absolutely horrendous officiating. And then you look at that game.
It was in Phoenix. You were right the first time.
Sorry, in Phoenix was absolutely horrendous officiating. And then you look at this game yesterday, and it's pretty much the same through line with these 3 officials. And so you just look at the patterns, right? And if Aliyah Boston allegedly said she has a special whistle to Asia Wilson, I think that's something that's worth looking into by the league. And again, I think that going into next season, there needs to be a point of emphasis in terms of what's happening during these games. And I know that this is something that is discussed with the official union, with GMs and executives across the league. They come up with the points of emphasis in the preseason. So again, I'm looking at 2026 and seeing how are the changes going to be made, right? When it's in your favor, you're not going to complain. But when you lose a game, then you're going to make the loudest noise. And so, I mean, you look at these numbers and it's quite shocking. Chinea Gumake, I heard her say on broadcast yesterday that Aliyah Boston she leads the league in fouls and in offensive fouling as well. And so it's very shocking that, she had 13 free throw attempts and the entire Aces squad only had 11. Yeah. And that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, I mean, you never want officiating to be the topic, right, of the conversation in the playoffs. So clearly the WNBA is going to need to address it. It doesn't sound like Asia took kindly to the saying she has a special whistle. I don't know. It's been very spicy between Aliyah and Asia on the court. So that Gamecock on Gamecock, it's been theater for me. I got the popcorn, but it's been spicy between those two. So I look forward to a very heated, intense, competitive Game 5. I think the Aces complete it and they take it and we'll move on. That's my prediction. Khristina, we have to go really quickly. So just tell me what your prediction is for that Game 5. Aces or
I'm not going to count out. Yeah, I'm not going to count out the best player in the world. I think the Aces will get it done.
Just give me your pick. I just want to know who you think. Got to pick one.
The Aces.
Aces.
There we go. The Aces.
Okay, I'm sorry. Aces, get it done. We're going to put it on wax. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for the WNBA on NBC. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get this postseason coverage.